Okay, that time I am using video like a video diary, but this is also something I want to share publicly. My last 2 years have been an extended dark night of the soul. There have been ups, there have been downs, and I only can realize this once I have landed in a place where I feel safe and secure. Um, do I start to realize what survival and defense mode I was in for so long? Um, so much beautiful growth, and so much to be grateful for. So many wonderful people to thank for stepping in the places where I needed hope or a friend or a place to crash for the night. As I said, there's been a lot. And as I have, am now where I landed for the past couple weeks, I've finally started to undo the fears that I realized were still there. I put on a little bit of weight, which, I mean, it's not a terrible thing because I was on the thinner side. But for me, it was so important to start to feel secure and relax. And I was overeating in order to feel safe because I wasn't sure when I was going to eat again. Now I've done some work where, I can fast comfortably actually for a few days, but I don't because I like food and it's not always, the best feeling. Sometimes it is. Fasting can be absolutely fantastic, but I don't want to derail this. But there is like this hoarding mentality that comes up, and I'm sure it's actually where a lot of, full-fledged hoarding comes from, which I have a history of in my family. I grew up in a hoarder's house, and a lot of that is just patching in the lack paradigm. The fear of, I need to hold on to it because what's going to happen when I don't have any ability to get it tomorrow if I need it. So anyway, really, this is me starting to unclench my ass and realize I'm okay. I'm going to be fine. And I'm seeing my path forward. There are so many things I've wanted to do over the courses of these 2 years. I wanted to teach. I wanted to share. I want to bring the healing that I've had. My life was a clusterfuck in many, many ways, but my health has been beyond any potential expectation. I mean, I'm less than one half the size I was, actually closer to a third of the size I was. Even with the 15 pounds I've gained back recently, which also, by the way, is part of why I'm making this video, is because I want to document the when, because now that I feel the foundation under me, I'm ready to start taking care of myself again, at least in the ways that I can. I'm slowly working at building an income of any sort because I haven't had that base under me. And where I'm at now doesn't lend itself to getting a brick and mortar type job because I'm kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Not the middle of nowhere, but there isn't anything easily walkable and everything. And that's okay because being authentic, being me, is now what I need to move into. And I had no idea how inauthentic I was. But it's the trauma, and I'm sure many, many people who would find this video, because if you're looking for this kind of stuff, you might relate, have always been too much for everybody around you. And it has been reaffirmed through parents, teachers, bosses, coworkers, partners, that go, "Oh, you're so energetic and you're so shiny because you have all this energy," until they're around it all the time and they're like, "You're too much. You need to dial it back." So I realized I'm going to start doing my videos and stuff where I can let being me shine because the people who are going to find it want to. I'd like to thank a lot of people and take the advantage of this. I loved Seamus and Veronica and John are the people we're living with now. They are absolutely wonderful and were our saviors. We did trust the universe. Actually, let me fill you in on a little of how that happened. We were in flight, headed to Youngstown, Ohio, in order to join a community there. And while we were on the first leg of our journey, we land in O'Hare, and that's when my phone kicked in because I don't have service or didn't have service at the time. And all of those messages telling us not to show up. So things had changed. There was miscommunications. Um, Literally, I got the inspiration. I reached out to 3 people, and 2 of them were nowhere in the area or could have done anything, but I wanted to update them, particularly because one of them, if we had landed in Pittsburgh, might have been our next path. And one of them was a friend that we had met when we met playing Star Wars: The Old Republic. One of our guild members, actually one of the guild leaders. And there we were waiting to get on our flight from O'Hare to Pittsburgh. They are at boarding group number 7, and we are boarding group number 9. And I get a message that says, yeah, hold tight, I'll come get you. And at least you'll have a place for a couple days while you figure stuff out. So, like a miracle, in perfect timing, everything worked out. After being here for a couple days, we realized a lot of synergistic paths, not only for ideas of what we're going to do forward as a collective, but also just where we can really help each other in our daily lives. And so for the first time really, if I'm honest, since May of not this past year, but the year before, I have a permanent address. I have a home. This is huge because although I love travel, I have wanderlust. I love new experiences because honestly, I think experiences, and it's what it's all about at the end of the day. It's about enjoying life and doing new things. It still also means a lot to have a base and a home. And so I'd like to thank that group first for welcoming us with open arms, deciding to keep us. So I'm going to start there. And I'd also like to thank Peter, my partner. We have gone through and put each other through hell over the past 1.5 years, 2 years. As we each went through the different parts of our journey and egos came up and we could see each other through a lens that couldn't comprehend what the other was even trying to do or see. But I also know that as hard as much of that was, and whatever it means we aren't in the future, or now even, it doesn't matter, because I would not have had the growth, the journey, the experiences, the ability to see myself in a raw and painful way without my mirror. And that's what he has been to me. And as hard as it was on me, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it, it was hard at times. Like, just figure it's not even worth it to continue kind of hard. But you know what? In the end, as I see the light at the end of the tunnel, as I know ideas both group collectively and personally that I'm putting into motion for a future, I can see where it was all worth it, why it had to be that way. It's really amazing the perspective once we get out of the war and have the perspective. I definitely want to also thank the communities that took us in at different times, particularly for an entire community, the Salt Lake City community. You were all wonderful, welcoming. You got to witness a lot of the highs and lows, things we were going through, things that probably often could look insane to the outside world. And honestly, they looked insane to the inside world. Being in the middle of it, there were times I felt crazy. There were times I was worried everybody else was crazy and I was the only one that was sane. And then there were a lot of you individually that opened up your homes to me, to us, and so I want to rattle them off, but at the same time, I'm kind of afraid of missing somebody that I might have spent a night with along the way. But at least off the top of my head, Maya, you are a beautiful goddess, and thank you so much. And Sean for taking us in, especially at a time when your life was turning around and you were going through a lot of the upheaval that you were. You are a beautiful, beautiful soul. And Keith, it's the same thing. I see your struggles and I see your growth, and I know you're trying. And it is beautiful to see you be willing to step out there. I've been watching some of your video stuff, and I'm proud of you. And Lacey took us in. We just had, I stayed with this really sweet girl, Lindsay, for a little while. Every single place and thing had its ups and its downs and its growth, and learning to accept that the things that we normally called bad were just a necessary part of the story. Because none of us want a 2-page story. She was born, she lived, she died. That's not enough. So we give ourselves these ups and downs so that we can experience the joy of getting warm again after we've been freezing. So again, so many of you to thank. That was just like Salt Lake City. God, Kevin, Billington, thank you for the time you took us in. And snowstorm in April or whatever it was in Colorado, how beautiful. I've had gorgeous experiences. Jacksonville was a beautiful place to be for a while. I realized I could just keep going with how many of you I love, what you've all done. And I really am noticing, look how much I've fallen apart compared to some of the things you've seen of me as I've gone through this journey. This is because now I am seeing and taking an honest assessment of what I've been through and how it shaped me and how I want to be different going forward. And as I do that, I'm seeing, wow, I need to start taking care of myself again. So keep an eye out. I'm going to be doing videos. I am so excited. I'm going to just give a little teaser of what's coming forward as I'm going to be putting together, an online YouTube show and a subscription program that has intentional living and getting healthy, using my own journey as far as ways to love yourself by taking care of yourself, discipline, self-love in action, and it is. And gaming and embracing the fact that there is something, actually, let me add to the video. For the longest time, I thought to be spiritual, I had to move into this angelic state. No, it's accepting that I'm fucking human and I screw up and I love things that are not necessarily building a huge collective difference in the world. I like video games. I love geeky movies and TV shows. And I had let go of them because they were an addiction and a distraction. But I'm proud to say, as I'm coming out this other side and embracing who I truly am so I can bring that forward, I realize that is a part of who I am. And now that I've broken the attachment addiction part, I get to have them back. So you are witnessing the birth of Geek Diva. So I guess I am announcing that here. I'm going to be doing some online, web shows and courses and all sorts of other things that use geek analogies, for lack of a better word, using video games and sci-fi and fantasy to explain the principles of spirituality. Because I don't know how people imparted this information before they had the ability to talk about Matrix and avatars and playing alts. And all of it really helps explain the daily game that we're in here in life. How to accomplish things when you realize, you're driving a little avatar around. I don't know how they used to explain it before those things existed, but now that they are, and I'm excited about it, I realized I'm going to get out there helping show people what all those analogies are so that if it resonates with them, they can find their own path using the same things that have drawn them forever and they love, the worlds of fantasy and sci-fi. And so that's what I'm bringing forward. So keep an eye out for more videos. I have lots of ideas in format, but I realize talking about them here is silly because it's likely to change 50 times as I start putting them together. But I look forward to talking more to all of you. Again, thank you, everybody whose paths we have crossed. Thank you.